Shortly you'll see our host of the evening, Hannes Draude, stepping into the ring. He'll be our announcer tonight.
Good evening, Swordfish. My name is Hannes Draude. I was one of the 3 tournament managers this Swordfish, and I'm here to announce the fencers and sword cutters for the evening. We will begin with the sharp cutting finals.
So we have 3 finalists in this tournament, and they are Aaron Kornauta, T.S. Kuhl, and Christian Raukkonen. 2 Europeans and 1 American.
Aaron Carnuta is from the Denver Historical Fencing Academy. Ties Kuhl is from HVN in the Netherlands. And Christian Raukkonen is from EHMS in Finland.
Please welcome the first cutter this evening. It is from the Denver Historical Fencing Academy in the United States of America, Aaron Carnuta.
So you'll see all the competitors are using the Alexandria sword. So we have our first cut, a right overhow from Aaron Carnuta. It looks like a pretty clean cut, went through both. It looks from where I sit like it did a pretty good job of maintaining an even angle. Jane Johnston is using a fader to measure the line there, to check out the line, the plane, and they will judge it accordingly. They're turning it around so they can get a cut now from the other angle. So this, I believe, is going to be a left overhow. All right, looks like a pretty clean cut. Clean blow, severed both tatami. Jane Johnston is measuring that plane.
And the sword you see Aaron using is the Albion Alexandria, and all 3 competitors will be using the same sword. And that's by coincidence. Every competitor will enter the tournament with their own blade of choice.
All right, so what we saw is a right Unterhau, and he made it through one, but he lost momentum and did not make it through the second tatami. So that obviously is a flaw, a fault that's going to count against him. So then you'll see the tatami are now going to be flipped around, and he will do his final cut of the evening, and that is going to be that will be a left Unterhau. Yeah, it's interesting, you know, in watching these cutting competitions. It's when you're in a fencing ring, you have other people to blame. You know, you have an opponent. Oh. All right, so the first Unterhau went through cleanly. The second did not. Caught the tatami, carried it off of the spike. So that too will be a flaw. So yeah, what I was saying was what's interesting is when you're in a fencing competition, of course there are 2 people involved, and you don't control a lot of the variables there. But the interesting thing about a cutting competition is you literally have nobody to blame but yourself. And it's interesting to watch the faces of the competitors sometimes, because you can see them wincing when they make the cut.
In a fencing tournament, you know, a competitor will never show, or she will never show weakness, or that she'll acknowledge that she did wrong.
Or it's hidden by their fencing mask.
Hidden by the fencing mask to sort of to influence the judges as little as possible in a negative way. But it's sort of hard not to do that test cutting. It's.
All right, so our next competitor is Ties Kuhl from the Netherlands, from HVN. He will be fighting later tonight in the open longsword for bronze.
The next cutter of the evening will be from HVN in the Netherlands, Ties Kuhl.
Ties Kuhl, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. All right, so he's made his right Oberau. looked like there might have been a little issue.
And you see him cutting as high as possible, so it will allow him to keep as much of the tatami as he can.
He has to execute 4 cuts on those 2 tatami.
And if you go in a comfortable middle range, then you'll have less and less tatami towards the end of your blows.
Right. So now we have the left Oberhau. Taking a moment to reflect, gain his composure.
Nice.
All right. Nice,
Very
clean cut. Jane Johnston measuring. The next cut will be the right Unterhau. I'm sorry. I think it's going to be the left Unterhau there. That's what it looks like.
Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful cut.
That's a beautiful cut.
Beautiful clean cut. It's interesting. There's a little bit of controversy over cutting and its place in HEMA and the value of that. I think certainly in North America the view is very strong that it's highly relevant and should be a critical part of what we do in HEMA. There are some voices. Okay, so we saw that right Unterhau. It went through the first one. Did not make it through the second one. Lost momentum.
So we saw that right Unterhau.
The same cut Aaron struggled with.
Right.
The right Unterhau.
Right.
Or was it the left Unterhau?
No, it was the right Unterhau. That.
So Matt, tell us about the mats they're using, the tatamis. What are they and what are their history?
Right. So essentially it's basically a straw mat. This is a type of mat that is used in Japan for flooring, but these are mats that are rolled up and then they're soaked overnight. So so they're heavy, and they have a consistency that is, some say approximating human flesh. But the bottom line is it gives you a lot of good feedback on the trajectory of your cut. So you can examine the surface of the tatami and see whether the plane of your cut is flat and even or whether it's curved or otherwise deformed, which is indicative of bad form while cutting. So now we have Christian Rukonen from EHMS in Finland.
From EHMS in Finland, Christian Rukonen.
That's interesting because both Thies Kuhl and Christian Rukonen have been two of the people who have really stepped up and started practicing cutting here in Europe. Beautiful,
wow.
Beautiful right
Beautiful.
Oberhau by Christian Rukonen. Nice, clean. I think that's the cleanest one we've seen today. All right, mat being turned around, and now we're going to get that left Oberhau. A little less clean, more of a flatter angle, but it looks like he certainly severed both of them. We'll see what the plane is of the cut. Here we have a replay of that. So you see that one of the pieces actually flew sort of a long way. The idea is when cutting, the pieces of tatami should fall as close as possible. That's indicative of a nice, clean cut that's continuing in a straight plane. All right, so we had that left Unterhau, and as with some of our prior competitors, he cut through the one, got tangled up in the other. All right, they're righting the stand, replacing the tatami. They're going to turn it around, and he is going to do that right Unterhau. Final cut of the evening.
Boom!
There he goes. I think he may get a little deduction on that for deviating offline, maybe overcommitting a bit with his body, but I think knowing Christian, he was a little pissed and wanted to make it convincing.
See ya.
However, that will probably count against him, from what I understand from talking to Sean about. He talked about when you're making these cuts, you don't want to overcommit. You don't want to when you're making the downwards cuts, you don't want to overcommit that shoulder. Likewise, when you're making the upwards ones, you don't want to carry too far offline. Christian did a little bit of that.